Okay, welcome to the Abundance Club and Claire. It is so wonderful to have you here and your beautiful energy all the way from Bali. Thank you for saying yes to this.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited about this conversation.
I'm actually really excited as well. I've been looking forward to this and it's interesting because one of the things that I love about you that came across is the way that you teach others to create abundance from the heart. And you also wrote a book called Millionaire from the Heart. So, you have your own experience in overcoming whatever obstacles and challenges you've had to overcome in your life and then going into then generating millions through your heart-centered work. So before we dive into the money and the abundance, because I know my audience seems to love that. Whenever there's a podcast episode about money, it always is what people love to listen to. But before we dive into that, I guess to begin with, if you'd like to share a little bit about your journey, like what led you to this path, because I know you coach people around creating wealth for themselves and generating abundance and living a life from the heart. So how has your experience kind of shaped your own approach to what you teach and to prosperity and creating a freedom-filled life?
Well, that's a vast question. So how did it start, maybe?
Yeah.
I so I've been an entrepreneur for about 13 years. I am not an overnight success. My success was built brick by brick.
Mm,
And at first, I was not chasing success and money. I was actually aiming for more harmony and peace because I had a lot of anxiety. I had health issues. That's why I became a naturopath.
mm,
So in my 20s, I was following a very corporate work and everything was just, on track. My parents were civil servants. I only knew one way to make money, the usual way you get, you're an employee, you work for a company or you work for the state and you make regular money with a stable income your whole life. And then at the end of my 20s, I got fired from a job that I really liked. And at the same time, I had to heal my chronic anxiety and insomnia because it had become too big. I couldn't cope anymore. And obviously, at that time, I felt it was horrible, but it was, vocation calling, and I had no idea. So I started to study naturopathy because I found it fascinating. I didn't think that I would make money with it because everybody was telling me, oh, you can't make money being a naturopath. It's just a hippie thing in France. You're
mm,
allowed to educate people about their health, but you can't say that you're doing any kind of medicine. None of this. You have to be hiding. And then there were a few synchronicities. You know how it is when you start following your path. So I started to write books and I actually wrote 13 books total. And it went really fast. Just, I was a volunteer to write a book with someone, and then they offered me my own book. And then because it was on time and I didn't know how rare it is, they said, "Do you want to write another one?" And then I started to write many books, and it opened doors. I was also very much eager to learn how it works, to be successful because I didn't have connections. I didn't have entrepreneurs around me. So I tried everything, having business cards and flyers and giving my time for free to have people discover my work and all the things except being online because I was terrified. I was terrified of making videos. I was frightened to death. It was horrible for me. So I had to learn that. And then, yeah, step by step, I started to make money and it solidified with years. I was always smart to have a little bit of money here and here and here doing different jobs, but always in the same field. And then, and then I started to take off a few years ago. It was just before COVID. It was really solid just before COVID. And then COVID hit and I was already doing a lot of online sessions. And suddenly I had a wave of people coming my way. And this is the exact year that I started to do online programs too. I was ready for it.
mm.
And yeah, I just made a lot of money, like more than 3 millions and euros, not IDR, Indonesian money.
Mm, yeah, yeah.
Because I live in Bali now.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
everybody's a millionaire here.
Yeah, you definitely define that in there because you when you go to Bali, it's like, oh my God, all my millions. I love it when I'm in Bali. I have so many millions. It helps to generate the abundance. I think that, you mentioned about, I think that this is, I resonate with your story so much. Like I was a yoga teacher for a number of years and likewise when I started off in my late 20s kind of teaching and then I ended up creating studios and people would say, there's no money in being a yoga teacher, right? Like the things that people say and the things that we take on. And I had that same resistance around putting myself out online. Like it took a number of years, probably 10 years. Like it was only when COVID hit that we were forced to take yoga classes online. And then, I started my podcast a couple of years ago. So I'd love to know in your experience, because I think so many people now are shifting from the traditional roles and how they've been creating wealth from one stream, like from one source of income. And many people get tied into thinking that that is the actual source of their abundance. So I'd love to talk about that a little bit more in shifting from that kind of dynamic. And also, how did you overcome those obstacles around putting yourself out online? Because obviously it's then I'd imagine that things started to shift for you and abundance started to come in. Is that right?
Yeah, very much. I think there were different steps. The first one being right after I wrote my book, Naturopathy for Dummies, the black and yellow books
Mm.
for dummies. I wrote this one and I was invited to talk about it. And I remember I was invited one day to talk about it in a theater. And the day before, I had to cancel because I made myself sick, which is terrible for a health educator. I'm like, oh my God, I'm preaching being healthy and taking care of myself, and I have to cancel because I'm sick. But I was not really sick. I made myself sick
Mhm.
because I was so afraid. So I got pissed off at myself. And I told my friends, and one of my friends was in the theater world, and she said, "Hey, I know that guy. He's a teacher, a theater teacher, and he can teach people who have written theses and, like a lot of work, brainy work, that they have to present it in front of a crowd. It helps them how to really express themselves and connect with the audience and be confident and answer questions without, collapsing. So I met him and he helped me a lot. So then after that, I was able to hold space for small groups, like in libraries, small events. And then I started to be more and more confident. And then the camera was the next step. It was really hard for me to be on camera. I had a good friend of mine. She was used to do online trainings and things like that. And she traveled to Bali at that time. And she said, I was there too, more like a digital nomad. It was 2018. And she said, Hey, I want to do something with you online. So she took me by the hand and actually
Yeah.
she made me do it the first time. And I'm super grateful for her because alone, I don't think I would have done it. Maybe I would still be waiting. And
Yeah. And yet,
we need those people.
obviously, what you're meant to be doing, right? I mean, I love the way that the universe prepares us and takes us through these initiations and you can look back and the younger version of you would have been like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it." And
Yeah.
it's just beautiful to reflect on that. And I think that fear of visibility is what holds so many people back. And I think it's great to also know the backstory. Like we can see the results. We can see, someone saying that they've made millions, and quite often we can think that they must have a secret or have an overnight success or have a lucky streak. So to know that that was something that it sounds like you built the foundations for it and you kept on investing in that, and then you were able to receive the prosperity that I guess was aligned for you as well. And one of the things that you talk about is daring to live a great life. And I love this phrasing because it almost feels like it's kind of calling you into courage and into even audacity, I guess, to step into this. So what does that mean for you and what does it mean for someone to dare to live a great life?
Yeah. Well, I have a favorite quote. I think it's Benjamin Disraeli. It says, Life is too short to be small. And I'm actually a small person, like short.
I am too.
And I used to feel very tiny, in many ways,
Mm,
not heard, not seen, not impactful. And it was painful. I thought, oh, that's not how I want to live. That's not who I want to be in this world. And step by step, the more I learned about my abilities and my resources and my how would I put it? Like the essence of who I am
mm,
and what I'm truly capable of from my experiences and my skills and everything I want to give the world and the way I'm able to serve. The more I got attuned to that, really connected to it, the more I realized how big I am.
mm,
And daring to live a great life is really honoring this greatness that we have inside of us. And I do believe that everyone knows, but it's scary for many reasons. We're scared because we don't know where it's going to take us, and we're afraid of the unknown. We're afraid of change. We're also afraid of leaving people behind when we change.
mm,
We're afraid of success and what it means, and if we're going to be able to hold the success, and if we're going to be able to maintain it, and or if we're going to sabotage ourselves. There are so many things there.
mm. How do you start to then resource someone into preparing for, that level of expansion that's being, I guess, what they're being called into when they're wanting to create more abundance in their life, whether that's financial or otherwise? Like, how do you support people to move through that and to shift out of that fear paradigm, which is essentially, I guess, how we've been conditioned, is to live and to operate in fear, and then to break out of that and to recognize that abundance is our birthright and it is our natural state. Like, how do you support your clients with that?
Well, the first step is really meeting themselves at a deeper level, because what we want is to be the greatest person we can be, but not chase other people's dreams. And I think this is super important because today we see a lot of people burning out and exhausting themselves trying to chase success and money. But I believe that if success is a byproduct, and including abundance is a byproduct of who you are supposed to become in your greatness, you're not supposed to exhaust yourself doing that.
Mm,
So in order to do that, first thing first, it's knowing yourself. The better you know yourself, the better you treat yourself, the more balanced you are. And I believe this is because I learned naturopathy before I learned coaching. So I think life is really smart because I would
prepares you.
never
Yeah.
become a coach. It's interesting because I know coaches and they tell me, oh, I'm sick of this world, coaching world. It's just ambition, ambition, ambition. I'm like, the coaches I know, they're almost all in the holistic field. So they ask me how I sleep, how I digest, if I went out today. And I think this is the basic things. Like you need to be grounded.
Mm,
If you're grounded within yourself, you can better listen to your intuition and what is truly something that you desire from the depth of yours, or if this is more shallow,
yeah.
So this is very important. And it keeps you healthy, it keeps you full of vitality and constantly inspired, which is a key for me because if you're inspired, you are inspiring for
Mm,
others.
mm.
So don't try to like seek, being magnetic to people and everything if you're not connected to yourself. It doesn't work. So it must flow from the essence of who you are. So I say from the heart. This is why I say everything from the heart.
Yeah, and I think that that's so beautiful. So, what is the work then for people who maybe, because I think, many of us have been used to operating up in the mind and, creating success through the mind, through the intellect, through the solutions, through, hard work. What are some of these paradigm shifts that we can start to really open up to when it comes to creating abundant success, wealth, and any of that, like from more of a heart-centered place? What do we need to let go of? What do we need to really shift out of? And what are we invited into more?
Mm. Presence. So the more presence, the more magic from the heart.
Mm, mm,
So it means doing less in a way. But what you do it from pure alignment. This is something that you really want to do because it's overflowing from you, because it's meant to be like this, you know. It means being able to sit with yourself and acknowledge where you're at here and now. And when you tune into what wants to be birthed through you, then you listen to that and then you make that happen. And then it requires work. Because I know a lot of people say, oh, you can manifest anything. I believe right now we still live in a world where you have to do things. It's
Mm,
not like,
mm. But
you
I
know,
guess
it's
it's that difference in the inspiration coming through and it being guided versus I'm going to do all of these things because I think that that's what I need to do. And I think we get so swept up, particularly in the coaching world and in the online world, where there's so many different voices telling us all of the things that we need to do. And I love what you're offering here is like at the end of the day, it's coming back into what is resonant and what is truthful and aligned for you, and that is your gateway. And I think that it's tricky for many who, when we've been used to outsourcing our power, when we've been used to outsourcing guidance or having somebody else tell us what to do. So that in itself feels like a really big paradigm shift in letting your heart lead you. Is that where you receive guidance and coach people into understanding what that mission is for them?
yes. And I find it really helpful to have a coach.
Mm.
Because when you have someone, you know, handing you a mirror and showing you what you're capable of and believing in you and asking you the right questions, then you stop turning in circles. You stop, actually, you literally stop for an hour with someone, you breathe, and you go back to what's truly important. So I'm really grateful for all the coaches who've helped me. I'm still very much I'm very much a coachable person. I always buy online programs. I always get coaches, and it's super valuable to me because otherwise I get caught up, like everyone, I get caught up in
Yeah.
my thoughts and what I think I should do. And yeah, I get help.
Yeah. Because we all have blind spots too, right? Like we all
Oh,
have these blind spots and for somebody else. And I think what you said there is so beautiful too. Somebody else's belief in us is so powerful. Like that in and of itself can create huge shifts within you and your abundance. I believe at any rate. I think that
yeah.
that's
I'm going to give two examples.
mm,
So, I'm French and I used to work in Paris as a naturopath at that time, and I had a coach from Australia. And he asked me about my prices, and I told him, I said, I can't raise my prices more than 10 euros. I was 80 euros for an hour and a half. And then I said, maybe I can do 90. And then he answered me and he said, no, you can do 200 if you want. And for me, it was just impossible. You know, I was stuck because I was comparing myself to others.
yeah.
I didn't think anything else was possible. And then having a coach who was actually not from France, not from Paris, not from my usual circle, having someone showing me that I was actually reacting and adapting to my current situation at that time and not creating from what felt right for me
Mm,
was mind-blowing.
mm,
I didn't raise my price that much, but I think I went up to 120. So that's the first example. And then the second one is another coach I had last year because I've always wanted to work in English because I've been traveling for about 10 years. Now I'm settled in Bali, but I was living in different places. And my husband is German, we speak in English. My coaches are English native. My life is in English, but most of my work is in French. And I was always terrified to speak in English, to be invited. Thank you for inviting me in English. To be
mm.
invited to speak, to create my programs in English, to have a podcast or YouTube channel in English. I have all of that right now. But I was so scared of doing it. And I had a coach, and she helped me so much to realize that my English was not that bad, that people could understand me, and that maybe I have a cute accent, and maybe it's actually an advantage. And also helped me understand that a lot of people actually are doing great without having a perfect English. So that was, yeah, I'm really grateful for her. She helped me a lot.
Yeah. And it's so much, just want to add to that because it's so much in the in the transmission, right? In your energy transmission. And
Yeah.
I see this all the time. used to train yoga teachers, and I would have some that were non-English speaking. But I think that their English was still good, but it was always a block for them. They felt like it was something that held them back. And I saw it as a gift, right? And it's so much more than the words that we speak, but the energy that comes through. So I just wanted to say that because that comes through so clearly, and probably most people are drawn to you because of your magnetism. And but I think that that's so awesome too, that you overcame that obstacle. So when we get into it, then when we get into money, what is money? What do you feel that money is, like, beyond currency? What is it in your view? And I love this because money is a conversation, like it's a relationship that we all have. Every single person in this world has some kind of relationship with money, and how much does that determine the level of abundance or financial abundance that we might receive in?
Yeah. Well, money is just a tool to exchange something. Abundance is greater. Abundance is having resources in the form of money or support, opportunities, and so many things. So, what I like to do is to work on abundance more generally, because then when you unlock abundance, you can unlock so many streams of abundance in different ways. And it can be money, but it can be support. You can suddenly get a house because someone wants you to house sit for a year and you don't spend
Yeah.
rent. It's just, it unlocks so,
Exchange, or yeah, yeah, beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just amazing. For me, most of us, we weren't born to be able to welcome money in our life in a healthy way, because we were not taught how to create a beautiful relationship with money, being grateful for it, letting it circulate through us, trusting that it comes and goes, and this is very natural, and also understanding that it's never truly ours, is just passing through us. And
Yeah.
we use it to do something with it, and then we create magic with it, and then it multiplies, and this is how it's supposed to be. And I remember when I was a teenager, I was trying to explain that to my parents, and they were not understanding.
Mm.
And then I lost it. But I have a very vivid souvenir of this conversation with my parents. But then I completely forgot about it. In my 20s, I got scared. I got into corporate and I was trying to make money. I suddenly got worried about retirement and things like that, although I was just 20, but it's just
Yeah.
because I heard about it too much. And then I froze and I forgot that it's supposed to be natural. So only in my 30s, I started to work about my relationship with money. And only thanks to coaching, I started to read books to understand that, oh, I used to think that if I was supposed to be rich, then it should be natural that money comes to me without me having to do any effort to create a beautiful relationship with money. And I understood that it was the same in love. You know
Mm.
how it is that we usually think, oh, if it was meant to be, then it should be easy
Mm.
with my special person that I just met. But that's not true, because if I have inherited trauma and if I have like heavy attachments, if I'm chasing money or running away from money, I mean, this is the same with love. We have to work on our shit so that we're able to relate in a healthy way. And this is exactly the same with money. If I chase it, if I'm afraid of it,
Mm.
then these things are indicators that I need to start working on that. And you can work on anything, really.
I love that. How do we start to work on that? What do you think is the thing that holds so many people back? Because it's often the things that we resist, right? Like, how can we start to improve? If someone's listening to this podcast and they're like, right, I want to turn this ship around now. I'm tired of worrying about bills. I'm tired of being in this scarcity, like worrying when I look at my bank account, worrying about how much I'm spending, and we've got like Christmas coming up and all of these things. How do we start to turn that ship around and cultivate a more healthier reality, a healthier relationship with money?
Well, presence again, as I said earlier, because you need to be present to what's happening so that you can actually start witnessing your current situation instead of being in constant state of reacting. And then observing your emotions, allowing your emotions, and making them circulate. And you can do that through different ways.
Mm.
So I really like EFT, emotional freedom technique, because I was so anxious. And so when I started to do naturopathy, I discovered EFT and I started to tap on everything because everything was bringing me anxiety. And I realized that I could actually, whew,
Mm.
let it go, let a lot of things go. And from that space, be more neutral. And I think a lot of people today are absolutely not neutral when it comes to money. They're very much reactive because they didn't learn that there is another way to be.
Mm.
And just like you said, this is our birthright to be in abundance. And we are naturally abundant, but we're blind. We're really blind because we don't see the opportunities. We don't see that there are always opportunities to generate money, whether we invest, whether we create a side business, whether someone wants to give us money, but we resist. Like it's crazy. We're just blind because we're stuck, because we are reactive. But from the moment we manage to feel more peaceful inside, then from a place of neutrality, we can finally open our eyes and see, oh, it was always there. I could have done
Mm.
that. I
Mm.
didn't know.
Mm.
I didn't even know it was a possibility for my life.
Mm.
So I would say, understand why you're emotionally reactive because yeah, it's probably not yours. It's probably something you've carried. So yeah, it's you're not responsible for what you've inherited, but you're in charge of what you do with it. So decide to take ownership of your current situation, and it can be through meditation, journaling. You can do some tapping. There are other ways, other modalities. Just come back to a place of neutrality, being less reactive. This is a key.
Yeah, and that I guess it takes the charge out of it, doesn't it? And the pedestaling as well. They think that we so often do around money, the charge that we give it and the charge that we hold. And I love that a couple of times you've spoken about, not only keeping money in circulation, right? Like, because we can tend to hoard it and hold on to it and keep it for a rainy day or worry that we're going to run out and we need to have this and that. And all of that can be perpetuating more lack. So this idea of continuing to keep it in circulation, and then you spoke also about allowing our emotions to stay in circulation.
Mm.
So can you talk a little bit more about that correlation? Because I love that because this comes from the word, money comes from the word currency and being in the current of energy, and I think that it's just so, it makes so much sense when we hear it, but yet we're so in the practice of doing the opposite of that, right?
Well, I have a third analogy, which is health related, because whatever is stuck in the body makes you unhealthy.
Mm.
So if you're not moving, if your digestion is not moving, if your lymph is not moving, you're going to create a disease. So this is exactly the same thing. So you need to understand that you keep it flowing, and then whatever is flowing, nothing can stay. You can have, a cold for 3, 4 days, but you're not going to turn it into something deeper because, oh, okay, it's gone. It's done. It's flowing. But if you're constipated for 3 weeks, you're gonna get, really sick.
Mm.
It's
Mm.
this is you have to understand that whatever is stuck will create a knot, and then the energy will not flow, and then you will create more problems in the future.
Mm. So what about if people are thinking, well, it's flowing out, like there's a lot of this flowing out. How do I get it in? And as you said, like it's circulating, right? The all the
Yeah.
abundance that we could ever need is around us, like trillions of dollars that are circulating the planet. We're not creating it. So how do we turn on that tap, get into the practice of being more receptive to what is here?
Mm. Then I would work on different things. Presence. Let's
Mm.
not forget, because a lot of us are just eager to go through processes and find the right, solutions, and a lot of like diving into deep stuff. But presence is first thing first, because then you have the awareness of what's actually happening to you. So this is really important. And then from that space, you can start asking yourself questions. I love questions because it creates space between the thoughts. And then you realize that, oh, there's another way to see the situation. And from that new perspective, then, oh, I can decide to nourish different beliefs and I can step into action from another perspective. So everything changes. Then I want to ask questions. If this is the case that a lot of money is going out and not necessarily in, I want to ask, is there any benefits of this happening? If it's a recurring thing, like if you're used to that, like what's the benefits from it? Because some of us we're so used to not necessarily being fully responsible and being okay with it, being a little bit how would I put it? Pitied.
Mm.
Maybe this is also a way to get help in a way
Yeah.
or another, and so that we can feel that others are supporting us. Maybe we don't want to outgrow certain situations. So this is the first step. I would say look at what is beneficial to you because in every situation that is actually long lasting, is there is something that is
A
actually
hidden benefit.
there's a hidden benefit in that.
Mm.
And then ask yourself, what is it actually costing you
Mm.
to live like that?
Mm.
And so, well, not being financially stable, living in fear. Um, well, one hidden benefit could be also that while you're living in fear and stuck in this cycle, you're not living greatly and going towards your dream, which is actually maybe so big for you because you're emotionally reactive to it that you're frightened to do it. So this is actually more comfortable to stay broke than to be at flow, because then if you're at flow, you're not busy worrying, and then you're not actually chasing your dream, making it happen.
Yeah.
That could, I think it happens a lot.
Yeah, those sneaky hidden
Mhm.
in the shadows, the ways that we hold ourselves back. And I think that that's a really big one is having those dreams that scare us. So if I stay in this state, if I stay in this situation, then I won't have to go after that. I'd love to know for you and your life now. Was this something that you focused on? Was this something that you envisaged? How much do you feel you were consciously co creating your life coming from your experience in your 20s and working in corporate? At what point, or did you start to architect, script a new life for yourself? Or is this something that you feel has just naturally unfolded bigger than what you could have imagined?
No, I don't think it was naturally unfolding. I made it happen.
Yeah.
It's so I'm 42 years old now, and when I started to really consciously creating this life, I would say it was beginning of my 30s. I discovered Mind Valley, for example, and I started to buy their programs and doing their meditations and visualizations. And I had never before that started to visualize the life that I wanted to create. It was for me, it was very new. And I started to imagine beautiful things without knowing how it could even be possible. I was living in a shoebox in Paris. I was living I don't know. It was hard. I had multiple jobs. I was hardworking and I was eager to succeed, but it felt so far off, even visiting a foreign country like Bali seemed like so far away. But I stick to it. I continued visualizing. I continued being curious. I think I have great curiosity, and this is very important.
Mm.
And I'm very coachable in the sense that I always want to ask questions to people who succeeded and I want to know how I can do better and I learn from my mistakes and I'm not so afraid to make mistakes.
Mm.
So this is also very helpful. And I continued visualizing and things started to happen. And I also realized something is that whenever I do one step and I get brave, then life does 10 steps. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, I'm going to
yeah.
help someone write their book. Oh, you want to do that? That's fine. Now we're going to give you your book. And you want to do more?
Yeah.
You're going to do 10 more. This is exactly how life happened. Like, oh, you want to be having more impact and make a little bit more money? We're going to give you a lot more. Let's see what you
Mm.
can do with it. I really feel that this is what happened.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. it's that co-creative process. I'm always saying to my clients, like, there is an action step for you. You like, and as you said, like, we can sit here and we can visualize and meditate all that we want, but there comes a point where we've got to take that half step so the universe can then reveal the next puzzle piece. So visualization was a big part of your process with
Yeah.
that. Is that something that you still, because I love this when we see the manifestation or when we're living the manifestation of something that we desired, intended, visualized years before. Do you continue with that as a practice now for your next level? Like, have you started to get a sense of the way that you're being prepared for that? Or can you talk a bit about, the season that you're in at the moment and what your practices are that helps to keep you in alignment with that part of you that's leading you?
Well, it has changed a little bit. I would say that what I do most, so before I was envisioning like on a screen
Yeah.
and feeling how I feel in the future and what's going to happen and how it makes me feel. And now I create meetings with future me. So basically, I jump in the future, for example, 5 years from now or 20 years from now, and I visit how I live at that time and I ask questions which I didn't do 10 years ago. So now, I guess because I'm used to practicing it all the time, I just jump there and sometimes I'm surprised about what I see. Most of the time I kind of know because now it's been habitual. And then I tune into future me and I ask her questions like, what do you think about what I'm currently living? Like the situation that I'm going through. What would you do? Or what's the next step that I'm not aware of? Or what do you recommend me? Or is there anything you want to tell me today? And I do that a lot. I really like this practice because it feels like an anchoring wisdom,
Mm.
which is not outsourced. It's always present. I can do it anytime. And there's always something of value there for me. And quite often, it helps me a lot relax. Like, okay, chill out. It's gonna be fine. Because
Yeah.
future me is fun. She's much more fun than 10.
Yeah.
Although I'm more fun than I was 10 years ago, but I think I'm gonna be awesome in 20 years. I'm gonna be bubbly and light and just like not worrying about anything. And I love the way she responds to me.
That is, I love that so much. I've done a similar thing myself, and I still do a similar thing, but I have for a number of years. And I remember saying to a good friend of mine, I'm like, "Future Amy is so fun, and she's actually really funny."
Me too.
And it's like, and isn't it amazing? Because when we bring people into this state and when we connect with our future self or our evolved self or our higher self, whatever you want to call it, so much of the time what comes through, like the qualities that they are living and embodying, so much of it is joy and lightness and play and fun. How do you think that helps us in not only manifesting what we want, but specifically around, getting comfortable with money and calling in money and success?
Yeah, well, I think it's a little bit the same with love. The more you grasp because you think it's overly important, the less the magic happens. It's just like when you're growing a garden, you cannot be always looking at how your flowers are blooming. You have to let
Yeah.
them be. You go water them once in a while, you make sure that there's enough sun, it's not hidden, and that you just protect them and you just watch them from afar, and then you come and one day you're like, oh my God, so many flowers. And this is the same. I think that we overthink.
Mm.
And then because we overthink, we don't know if we make the right decisions. And then we just put the wrong energy into it, instead of just be relaxing. "Oh, okay, it's done. It's done. I'm gonna do
Yeah.
my best, and then it's done. I can go get a massage. I can go for a walk with my dog, and it's done. And tomorrow I'll do something else that I can do without overdoing it, and then it's gonna be beautiful."
Yeah, without overcooking it, right? And
Yeah.
I think that comes back to trusting in the process as well. If you know that it's done, what would you do and what would you do today?
Yeah.
So on that about the overthinking thing, and also I see this with people around blocks as well, and thinking that they have blocks, and whilst there's truth in that, I think sometimes we can tend to over focus on our block so much that it reinforces a sense of lack or not enoughness, or that there's something wrong with me or I've done something wrong. Do you find this in your experience in working with clients or with people in your programs? And what is then the most helpful way to for someone to gently shift out of that kind of I'm blocked into a more empowered and abundant state?
Mm. I would say that this is valuable to reserve some times in the week to work on yourself. For example, you can have an appointment with a coach or a therapist and decide that for 2, 3 hours, you're going to work on a specific program. And then you put yourself at work and you really dive deep and you acknowledge where you're at and you ask yourself the right questions and everything. And then you drop it.
Mm,
The rest of the week, you chill out, you work, you do your best at work, you connect to what brings you vitality
mm,
and what makes you feel most alive and what sparks you. Because the more you're going to do that, the more you're going to have something to give. And when you have something to give, you start serving from who you are, from the core of who you are, and then the magic can happen. But if you're overly thinking about, okay, what's wrong about me? And then you're like listing it and working super hard on what's wrong about you. And then at work, you also overthink and you're like, oh my God, this is what I should be doing instead of
yeah.
this is what brings me joy. Then this is going to be really hard. And you're going to come selling whatever you're offering to the world from a needy place. You're going to be tight instead of being generous and, okay, I want to do that because I want to do that. It works, it doesn't work, I don't care because it brings me joy. So this is a very different energy.
Mm. And do you feel that if you're guiding people into creating success or business for themselves or any kind of creative endeavor, what is the compass? Like, how do we start to, if someone's listening to this going, I want to know more about what I'm here to create, what my purpose is, how I can become more aligned with my mission, how do you guide people into that process?
Well, not 100% of the time, but pretty close to that. I think that we're meant to help previous version of us.
Mm.
That if you were to help you 3 years ago, what did you need the most that you've understand that the past few years because you've built resources, you've had experiences, you grew skills, you learned things. How can you help others with that? I think this is the easiest path, and a lot of people discard that. They think, "Oh, it's too easy then," because this is who I've become, and shouldn't it be just harder?
Yeah, we're so
No,
addicted
it
to the
doesn't have
hard.
to be. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. What would you say then to the younger you, the you 10 years ago or before you started out on this journey?
Oh my God. So many things. I would say that I love her and that she's awesome and that quite often she's upset because people are not seeing her in
Mm.
her magnificence, in what she's truly capable of doing. So she's a bit angry at the world because of that. But I want to tell her from the moment you're going to allow yourself to be seen, you're going to realize that the right people can find you and that it's actually not dangerous because it will create beautiful connections and that you're going to feel really loved and cared for and it will give you strength to to be the great woman that you're meant to be.
Mm. That's
Yeah.
so beautiful. And I think that there's so many women listening to this that need to hear that as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's so, I love when we can share our truth because we realize that we're not walking this path alone. Like we're all connected, and I think that that's such a gift when we can speak from that part of ourselves, and we understand that what you've gone through and your struggles and your challenges is like what we're going through as well. And I think that piece around needing to be seen and or validated or
Yeah.
invisibility, it's such a core wound for so many of us, that also that need to belong that
Yeah.
we shapeshift and we change ourselves and we water down our essence so that we can belong. So I just think that that's so beautiful, and I think it's a gift for you in the work that you do, and you support people to create money from their heart. And do you want to share anything else about that, or how people can reach out to you, or anything else that you want to share about, that, the power in that?
Yeah, I would like to add something about the fact that a lot of people listening to us probably doubt that they have something to offer because everything has been created and everything has been said.
Mm.
So, why would they be successful at doing something that so many other people are doing? Well, I would like to talk about that because I think there are not enough people doing the good work. We think there are a lot because we follow them. So,
Yeah.
we're just like, okay, there are already so many. But think about all the other people who are unaware of whatever you have to offer. So many people are unaware of it. Many people I meet in real life, they have no idea that it's even possible to work on their relationship with money. They
Mm.
have no idea that they can be healthier in, you know, a holistic way. They have no idea that you can ask yourself different questions and be more present with your life. So if I look on Instagram, I think everybody's already doing it. But if I look in reality, there are so many people who don't even know about
Yeah.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I would say it's important to refocus on the people that we want to serve. And this is not our peers that we follow on Instagram. So I would like to add that.
Yeah, I think that that's so important. I mean, there are so many people in this world, and also, what the work that you do is so important because we need to have these resources and the financial abundance in the hands of people with big hearts and incredible missions. I mean, I just think that that's such a worthy pursuit in supporting people to. That's why I do this podcast as well, and to tap into that and to bring to life what is their soul assignment,
Yes.
and to understand that they have everything that they need here to be able to, receive that and live that out, and that the
Yes.
world needs that. Yeah, so beautiful. Let us know how people can find you or buy your book or reach out to you.
Yes. So you can find me on Instagram. My name is Anne-Claire Meret, and I'm also on YouTube. And you can find my book, Millionaire from the Heart, available on Amazon in English and in French, audio, paperback, and Kindle. So
Mm.
everything is there.
What's your main message from Millionaire from the Heart? What's the thing that you would love people to embody or walk away with from that book?
Yeah. Well, this is kind of the map of how I did it
Mm.
and how they can do it too,
Mm.
because I want everybody to realize that they can do it. And a good friend of mine, she took a while to read my book. Like maybe she took 6 months. It was on her nightstand and she didn't even open it. And from the moment she opened it, she couldn't let it down. And she said, "It's not a book about money. It's a book about revealing my potential. I know why I resisted to read it in the first place."
Mm.
So
Wow.
I would
Yeah.
like to add that actually when you truly want to be successful in your life, it's all about revealing your full potential. And it's never really about the money. The money is just one.
It's a byproduct, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's just the icing on the
Mhm.
cake that comes through. And that always comes through as a byproduct for us being in alignment and recognizing our value and saying yes to our unique potential. Have you found that? Like the moment that you claim that and chose to walk that path, that the money just responded?
Exactly. It's all in, no plan B. And actually,
Yeah.
sometimes someone told me you had no plan B, but you didn't know that life had an A plus plus plus.
Yes. Oh my God, I love that. I live my life like that. Like I'm a little bit risk averse, and I will kind of tend to test things a little bit and take things far with the universe, because I know that there's always been a net. Like there always is a net, but that's because I trust in myself and I trust in my connection with the
Yeah.
divine and life. But I love that. I've never heard it like that before because I always say, I'm like, why have a plan B? We don't need to have that contingency plan because then we're not fully trusting.
Exactly.
I love that. Beautiful way to finish off. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here. Guys, make sure that you check Anne Claire out because she's got such a beautiful presence and energy. And I'm interested in getting your book as well. I think that would be great. I will pop all of the details and links in the show notes so you can get that. But thank you for being here.